he's a threat to democracy, calling him Hitler, calling him the KKK. That's what's charging. This political charge that we have right now that is making people hate each other. Now, Joe Biden was the one that came in and said, "I'm going to unify the country." He divided the country way more than any other president in my time.
I mean, if you added up the top 10 worst presidents and add them up together, they didn't do enough damage to this country as just Jay Biden did. And that's according to Donald J. Trump. Let me tell you, you're absolutely right. We have seen some absurdities. Like, I never thought that I would be having to wear, a shirt that says fuck Hamas on it. I mean, it's the most preposterous thing. I mean, they've always been a terrorist organization, but they came out of America, by way of Israel. And I was just reading on online today. In 1789, there was a congregation of Jews in Virginia, and they devoted a written prayer to the then president, George Washington. So when people are questioning the Judeo-Christian values that are fundamental to the founding documents and to this nation's people, and the rule of law that we've all agreed to abide by when we came to America, and most of us that I know have come to America from somewhere in some way, legally. Okay, and as far as that goes, my stance on DEI is deport every illegal. What do you think, Damon?
I'll- I love that analogy from the diversity, equity, inclusion to deport.
I mean, that's
every
what it
illegal.
is. I mean,
No, it's
right?
right. No, it's perfect. I love it.
I mean,
love
there's other people using that acronym for funnier things. I mean, but deporting illegals. When I saw this border open up, I was just shocked at the sheer magnitude of the number of people. And I'm saying to myself, this is orchestrated. This isn't just like people that are, wandering around wondering, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? How am I going to get there? I mean, they're being coached, instructed, trained, and paid for by all these non-governmental organizations and cartels. I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, we're the largest funder of the United Nations, and the United Nations actually gives them money to travel to Mexico.
I mean, I've long known, and this is from a very good friend of mine, Phil Goldman. He taught me back in the 90s when I met him. I was in the communications business. And so was he. And he was a Bell Labs guy. And he knew a lot of people and knew a lot of things about what our government was doing back then behind the scenes. These are RCA guys, from South Jersey. Lot of old timers that were there that, it's basically a skunk works, for lack of better terms, for the intelligence community. But he would tell me the real deal on things, and some of the things that we're seeing going on right now are some of the exact same things that he predicted. I mean, he talked about all the fundamental issues that we're seeing. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, just the amount of money that it costs taxpayers. In 2023 alone, I haven't seen 2024's yet, but it costs $454 billion to taxpayers to fund the illegals that crossed our border, give them food stamps within 7 days. They get it. Give them a pass to go wherever they want, fly them there, bus them there, stay in high-priced hotels, and give them food. Now, I'm all for legal immigration. I am. Everyone in this country is an immigrant. Most, anyway.
Let me tell you this, Damon. Okay, that is pathetic because we have veterans, we have former armed force service men and women that are homeless, distraught, and are having all kinds of issues. And there's people that'll say that Donald J. Trump hasn't done a lot for military. Let me share with you a very personal story. Tina, the love of my life, her father is a Vietnam veteran. And he was 70 years old just in 2015. And he needed a heart transplant. And through the VA, at 70 years old of age, you cannot be on the list for a heart transplant because it requires overwhelming resources. And of course, the costs associated with it are just astronomical, and it has a low propensity for good results. So he needed to have what's called a cardiac assist valve, which is basically an artificial heart installed. It's called a left ventricle pump and an LVAD. And he wasn't going to be able to get that done either. And as soon as President Trump was inaugurated, in 2016, the first presidential act that he took was VA choice. And literally within weeks from then, my future father-in-law was able to get that surgery done and get that LVAD and have basically what they call a rebirth. And he's still alive today because of Donald J. Trump and the VA choice policy. And that touched me very closely to home. And I can imagine how many veterans and how many family members of veterans are distraught and disgusted over not only what they fought for under this proud American flag, but what's been allowed to occur since.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, there were veterans that were moved out of their oh, well, not homes, but their where they were. I'm trying to think about it. What it was called, where they were staying. They were staying
Assisted living
just-
facilities.
Yes, that's what it is. Assisted living facilities for illegals, and they moved veterans out. They moved children out of schools for illegals as well in New York.
Well, go ahead in New York or any of these Democrat-run cities, and you go there during the holiday season when they're giving out free turkeys. The illegals are taking all the food that was being given to the black and brown communities that came here and have been here struggling, and they deserve that assistance. And now it's being overrun by people that don't contribute right now to society, and we cannot physically afford the strain on all of our infrastructure, whether it's medical needs, whether it's educational needs, or any other need they have, food, shelter, clothing. Once you let someone in, these are children, families with children, you have to let them stay and you have to take care of them. You can't let them in. We can no longer afford it. The consequences are going to be the end of American life as we know it.
Yeah, this country is in dire straits. We cannot afford it. It's not sustainable. I mean, if you just look at all the amount of money that we're spending, taxpayer dollars that are going out the window, we're almost $36 trillion in debt right now. And who's going to pay for it?
I have one great way to pay for it. Let's come up with a way to get $50 billion back to the people. I have a perfect suggestion. Let's get rid of the federal Department of Education. That's $50 billion a year of complete and utter waste that's propagating a radical ideology and pedagogy into our schools, into our children's brains, whether it's anti-racism, whether it's pro-Islamist, whether it's LGBTQIA plus or whatever the new word is for it. These are all social ideologies, okay? They're not based on fact and science. We need to get back to reading, writing, arithmetic. Only 12% of children graduating, okay, from schools in most inner city, only 12% can read at their grade level down to grade 3.
It's astonishing. It really is. Coming from the greatest country ever to exist on this planet. And the brave men and women that fought and died for this country that got us where we are and what we have. And a lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand it. They take for granted what was given to us. And they never had to sacrifice for anything. You look at the brave men and women that fought in the wars, the brave men that stormed the beach in Normandy. You know, they were regular people that worked in shops, offices, farms, and things like that. And they believed in America. And because they were raised in a 2-parent home, 4%, there was only 4% of single parent homes back in 1939. But now we're up to 47%. That's 10 times greater. And then we were at 73% of people went to church back then. And now we're down to 41% of people that go to church. Now, I'm not saying you have to go to church, to be a good person, but it's the institution, it's the community, it's just being with other people and caring about your town. That's what it is, and that's where everything comes from. Got it? Oh, okay. Can we drink on this podcast? Absolutely. Just got
Let me tell you something right now, guys, okay? There is talk and then there's action, okay? So we've been talking now for, 20 minutes now, Damon. Okay,
Yeah.
What are we going to do about it? We've already been doing something about it. You stood up and you ran for Congress in New Jersey CD1, okay? We weren't up against the Democrats. We were up against fellow Republicans. I've been watching this Republican National Convention this week, which I feel was the best of my lifetime, and I would probably have to guess it's the best in modern day history. I haven't looked at the statistics, but every night was exhilarating, not just as a Republican, but as an American. And Donald J. Trump did say, and he said it correctly, he's not looking for victory to win by a victory of 50% of the country. That is not a victory. Donald J. Trump is guaranteeing us all to be equally represented in our federal government under his watch. And we need to do everything we can to elect Donald J. Trump as president of the United States with J.D. Vance and his family and his great morals, ethics, and Judeo-Christian values to help guide the ship. And these men are the future of not just the Republican Party, but of America.
Yeah, there's a future for this country. Absolutely. There's a future for my children. I mean, that's why I ran for Congress. Now, I work in construction. I'm a union carpenter, construction manager. I build commercial buildings. And I never thought I would get involved in politics. Never, ever. I like what I do for a living. I'm blessed to actually like what I do for a living. But after having 2 children, seeing what was going on in this country, and well, this state and this country, then I figured I had to do something about it. So one day I came home from work and I told my wife I was running for Congress. And I won't tell you what she said. Well, yeah, I'm on the podcast. I can tell you what she said. She said, "No, you're not, asshole." So,
Damon, listen, your wife knows you best. I mean, what
Yeah.
can I say, right? She called you an asshole,
Yeah.
but here's the deal. You're willing to take a stand.
she didn't believe me.
She didn't believe you, but she believes in you now, right? And she is by your side 100%. And that is because Damon is in a household that is a nuclear family. Mother, father, children, general common sense values, Judeo-Christian values that were passed down from countless generations before us. And it is our duty and honor to ensure that our children and our future grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and for countless generations to come are able to have those values instilled in them and enjoy the freedoms of what America offers to all who enter or are here legally. And thank you, and God bless America. What do you say, Damon?
I just say you're absolutely right. You know, this country was born on Judeo-Christian values. And when you remove those values and remove those institutions, that's when you're lost. That's what you need. You need to raise your children with those values. And you don't have to believe in God if you don't want to. But if you still live by the same values that it teaches, then it makes you human. It makes you an American. And it makes you care about your neighbor. And that is the most important thing. And that's what we're losing in this country. That's why we're so divided. And we need to get better at it. We need to. We need to ditch the mainstream media and all the bullshit that they throw out there. And you need to listen to podcasts just like this, Political Badass with Eric and Damon.
And I'd just like to follow up by saying that, speaking of teaching, let's end this on Deuteronomy 6:7. And thou shalt teach them diligently to thy children. It's on my grandfather's epitaph. It is a long-standing foundational responsibility of everybody in the Simkin family to make sure that we do that, and I hope that your family does too. Thank you very much.
That's awesome.